Fort Scott Police Chief Jay Reyes says they have a long way to go toward finding out what exactly led to this tragic incident, but he says it's not only left the community concerned, but the police department as well. Well, as you can see behind me, the house is a total loss, and there are still some flames that are smoldering, and firefighters were here for quite some time. They were here up until about early this afternoon. The fire began just after 9 a.m. Now, less congestion is the key word. This highway that I'm standing on right now could help alleviate traffic problems that are occurring on Rangeline on a regular basis. Now, currently, people that are on the interstate, which is just on the road here, will typically get off at Rangeline to get to the north end of town, or 171. Sarah, the snow has picked up once again. I've seen quite a few cars come through here. Roads are still clear, and I've seen more salt trucks that have come out here, but as Dave mentioned, we're getting more precipitation and the roads are refreezing again, so you want to take it easy. Hurricane Jean is already delivered a calling card of pummeling rains as she gets ready to hit the Sunshine State. Good evening, this is KOAM News at 10. I'm Sheryl Demo. Alonzo's brother lives here in this home in Olathe, and last weekend they held a prayer vigil for Alonzo. They've now started tying purple ribbons on the vehicles as a way of keeping hope alive. Police say criminals that break into cars are looking for things like a checkbook and a glove compartment or anything else that would give them information to steal your identity. Topping our first 7 minutes, Joplin city officials announced their decision to hire Mark Rohr as the new city manager. He'll be coming to Joplin from Pequot, Ohio, a city of about 22,000 people. He's been the city manager there since 1998. Rohr has been in the city management business since 1987 and has managed such cities as Punta Gorda, Florida. His $110,000 salary in Joplin will be $5,000 more than the city has paid before, but city officials say the increase is simply to a higher cost of living. Russian students at Missouri Southern are helping raise money for the victims of terror attacks in their home country. Dr. Tatiana Karmanova is the student advisor of the Russian Club at Missouri Southern. She says more than 100 native Russians, both students and residents, live in Joplin. The attack at the school in Beslan, Russia, inspired many people to call the International Center at Southern to find out how they can help. Dawn Anderson runs a small auto glass business. She's also the victim of identity theft.
This has devastated me as a small business. I've been here 12 years, and this has devastated my business.
Anderson's business checks and credit cards were stolen. She says her business was paralyzed while police and her bank tried to sort out the mess. Anderson says the incident showed her firsthand the role businesses can play to cut down on check forgery.
Unfortunately, it's a headache for everybody. The bank has to process it. It ends up going back to the customer. And unfortunately, in the end, we as consumers all end up paying for that. So it does everybody good in the long run for identifications to be checked and businesses to know who they're taking their checks from.
But in many instances, businesses aren't checking IDs. So as part of our investigation, we put 10 Joplin stores to the test. Our producer made purchases with a check and was required to show her ID only once.
There you go.
And I just need your driver's license.
Alrighty. Oh, well, I don't think I have it on me.
Okay, what's your social security number? Joplin Detective Brady Stewart says not checking for ID makes forgery cases nearly impossible to solve.
Short of video, fingerprints, or confession, we can't prove a case. And if they didn't check proper photo ID, it's pointless to even try.
One business owner we contacted says based on the small amount our check was written for, she made a judgment call to take it and not offend the customer. And while in most cases businesses are responsible to make up the loss themselves, Stewart says taxpayers also pay the price to foot the bill for an investigation. As for Dawn Anderson, she says businesses have an obligation to their customers and the community.
Get it in your head that this is big business in Joplin, and put it to yourself that you as one person want to make a difference in allowing crime to go on in our small town of Joplin.
In Joplin, Sheryl Demo, KOAM News.
We got really worried when Monday came, Monday morning, because he never misses work, so I know he had to be at work by 6 that morning.
Billy Brooks is still holding out hope that his missing brother Alonzo will be found safe. The 23-year-old man has been missing since April 3rd. Brooks is from Gardner, Kansas, but was last seen attending a party in Lacine. Lynn County authorities say close to 100 people attended the party, and they are keeping all options open, including foul play.
But there again, obviously, it cannot be ruled out, particularly when it is out of character for Alonzo not to check in with the family in this length of time or a much shorter period of time normally.
Brooks says it's not like Alonzo not to call or be in contact with his family for even a day. He says the family has been struggling, but they're trying not to think of the worst. Alonzo's brother lives here in this home in Olathe, and last weekend they held a prayer vigil for Alonzo. They've now started tying purple ribbons on the vehicles as a way of keeping hope alive. The Lynn County Sheriff says their biggest challenge is separating the truth from the rumors. They have called off the search in the area and are now just trying to talk to everyone at the party. Brooks is just praying for any news about where his brother might be.
The family is really needing to find out where their loved one is at. So.
In Lynn County, Kansas, Sheryl Demo, KOAM News. Margaret Robinson was up early last Thursday morning getting ready for a garage sale, but she never expected to be greeted bright and early by two large pit bulls that left her injured.
I was screaming, help, and then I decided to run.
Margaret Robinson describes her ordeal as two large pit bulls got loose from next door and attacked her in her front yard. Robinson was left with 22 stitches and numerous bruises. She says it could have been worse if it were a child or someone who could not move quickly.
I don't want to see, that could have been a kid or something, or an elderly person, and I, don't want that to happen.
Robinson and other neighbors say they have seen the pit bulls out in the alley without any supervision, and that's what scares many of them. Rachel Sott says she knows those dogs were mean and she's concerned for her children's safety.
Well, my kids play out in the yard constantly, and I'm afraid that they can either jump the fence, get them in the backyard, or we'll be walking up to the house and they'll get them, anything like that.
Neighbors who have come to see Robinson say they don't think pit bulls should be allowed in the city limits where there are too many people around.
Because this animal is not a pet. It is a dog that is bred for killing other dogs, injuring people, and killing each other.
The pit bulls were quarantined and taken to the Humane Society, and one local veterinarian says unfortunately pit bulls are very unpredictable and you never know what they will do.
We have several in the practice that are great to work with, but sometimes something sets them off. It's almost like they have a trigger, and once that goes off, they can suddenly turn vicious.
Neighbors in Robinson just want to do something so no one else has to suffer like she did.
We want to see something take place that ensures that this doesn't happen to any other citizen of this city.
Nobody should have to go through what I went through.
In Joplin, Sheryl Demo, KOAM News.
I know it's wrong, but I do not care. I feel like the prettiest girl in the whole development.
These ads may seem humorous, but they're not for the millions of identity theft victims. In Joplin alone, police work on at least 600 financial crime cases a year. From credit card scams to forged checks, people are being victimized regularly.
They've stolen checkbooks, they steal credit cards, and they do things like that. Those are pretty much rampant. That's a common occurrence here. They'll use the immediate financial gain from the property that is stolen.
It's a never-ending cycle for Joplin Police Detective Brady Stewart. File after file, these are all identity theft cases. He says what the criminals are doing is nothing new. Some people just aren't paying attention to their personal information, and it's easy for criminals to get it.
What happens is many times if they get the information, they'll steal your mail, they'll go through your trash when you throw bank statements out, things like that. Those are the people that start looking for trying to get credit.
Detective Brady Stewart says stealing someone's identity is as easy as simply getting into a mailbox, taking a credit card offer, or even a box of checks that gives criminals a free right to do whatever they want with your information.
What one